a little different. I understand you like Justice William O. Douglas, who was appointed by FDR in 1939.
1939.
He's always been an interesting character for me.
Sure.
Growing up. Served as the longest justice,
Yep.
Even though he was like Senator Byrd of West Virginia, had to be wheeled in and wheeled out to vote. But what attracts you about this liberal, particularly in free speech and in
Right.
other areas,
Well,
justice?
I can remember taking a plane ride to Chicago in probably 1982, 1983, and I brought along this book called Independent Journey, and it was a biography of William O. Douglas by one of his law clerks. And from that moment on, that's 1983, I just became fascinated with this particular justice who served from 1939 to 1975. He wrote the most opinions of any justice. He was very quick and to get his work product out. A lot have criticized the quality of his writing, but he certainly produced a lot of good writing.
Including
and,
a lot of dissenting opinions.
A lot of dissenting opinions. He was a free spirit, he was a free thinker, and he was an independent thinker, and he really lived a life that was free in the largest sense of the word.
Full life.
A full life, and I always admired him. He wrote about 45 books, and I have a collection of every single one of his books in first edition, some of them autographed. I have the 1939 Time magazine with his picture on the cover when he was appointed by FDR. I have many magazines and newspaper articles that he's written. I have several autographs from him. He just was one of those types of free spirit thinkers that I always admired. He did some things in his life that I don't necessarily admire, but I certainly like the way he thought and enjoy reading about him.
I had John Walsh here just a few days ago, the chairman of the Democratic Party, and we talked about door-to-door canvassing or door-to-door candidates. And I gather you've already started.
I certainly have.
And we want to tell people in Franklin that that's one of the best ways to get elected and reach people.
Right.
So really welcome candidates and look at it as an opportunity. Right. What's your experience been?
The experience has been extraordinary, whereas I thought that people might not be receptive to a stranger showing up on their doorstep. I'm finding just the opposite. People want to engage and want to tell you what's on their mind, and they want to talk to you and get to know you a little better before they put their faith in you and cast a vote. So I've had a number of conversations with people who I'm just delighted that they're willing to spend a few moments with me and tell me what's on their mind, because that's going to make me a better candidate, and it's certainly going to make me a better state representative should I win this election.
What are some of the other things that we might see or hear from you between now and November?
Well, I certainly am looking forward to engaging in some debates with my opponents in this race. I think people need to see us, not only in an informal meeting, but I think they need to see us on our feet, answering tough questions, and engaging in a debate where the differences between the candidates come out. And I think the fact that we have 5 candidates in this race is wonderful, because it's really going to test each and every one of us. And the people of Franklin will certainly have a choice, because we're not all cookie cutter candidates. We have our differences, we have our strengths, we have our weaknesses, and people will certainly have a good choice to make come September 6th, and then eventually in the general election in November.
I look at phone calls as an obsolete way of campaigning now.
Right.
And I don't put a whole lot of priority on them. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
When I say phone calls, I mean the political call I'm calling on behalf of this candidate. I'm not talking about the personal
Right.
phone calls.
Right. As a matter of fact, I had a gentleman that had indicated to me, he says, I got my first robocall. He didn't get it from me. He got it from another candidate, and he said, I hope this doesn't mean the beginning of a barrage of these types of calls.
Right.
Most people have caller ID in their home, and they're smart enough to know if I don't recognize that number, I'm not going to pick up the phone. It's not a great tool to get your message out. Face-to-face, door-to-door, the use of social media, having Facebook, having Twitter, having websites, those are great tools to get your name out there and to get your stands on particular issues and to get information out there. It's kind of a two-way street, because if people don't want to read about you or don't want to see something, then they don't go to your website, or they don't go to your Facebook page, or they don't follow your tweets. But if they want to learn, it's there. And you know, face-to-face conversations, you can tell from the body language that somebody's giving you whether or not they're interested in carrying on longer. So you can step back and not pressure them any further.
We have a great 4th of July celebration here in Franklin, and I would expect, I think the parade is on Sunday, I'm not sure, that a lot of the candidates will be hanging around on the Common after the parade, and people will have a chance of coming down and meeting and greeting with a number of the candidates.
Yeah, there's no question. I plan to march in the parade. I plan to be on the Common, not only on the day of the parade. I'll be there June 29th through July 4th, through the entire thing. I'm not going to harass people. I'm there to meet people, to say hello, to introduce myself, and help them get to know me a little better.
Jeff is running for the state representative on the Democratic ticket in the primary. What's the question that I haven't asked you that you really would like to address and cover?
You know, we haven't talked or paid tribute to Jim Valley and his years of great service. And that's something I'd like to talk about, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Jim has been a great friend to me personally. He's been a great friend to the communities of Franklin and Medway, and a great friend to the Franklin Public Schools during my 10 years on the school committee, and he's been a great friend since I've been on the town council. Always accessible, always answers the phone calls, always responds to the letters. He did such a great job for this community, and it's one of the things I learn as I go door to door. I hear repeatedly, you have big shoes to fill, and I make it clear to people, I'm not running in this race to replace Jim Valley. No one's going to replace Jim Valley. If I can do half the job he did, Franklin and Medway are going to get great service. But I'm pledging to work very hard to devote 110% of my energy to this job, and I think over the years people will realize that you know, he was a great legislator, but it's time for change, and we're going to have a new person in that seat, and I'm hopeful that people will have the confidence in me to put me in that seat come September and November.
We want to remind people several things. One is that the primary in September is different. It's on a Thursday. It's September 6th, Thursday, September 6th. Everyone in Franklin will be voting at the field house, probably 6 to 8 are the poll hours. And Medway, it is precincts 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. I'm not sure where they vote.
They vote in the St. Joseph's Parish Hall.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. St. Joseph's Parish Hall, yeah. Holliston Street, I believe.
Holliston Street, yes.
I believe. The other interesting thing that John Walsh emphasized, and it really hadn't dawned on me as much, is it's important to consider taking an absentee ballot. Right. And anyone can request an absentee ballot, particularly people that might be as old as I am, that always necessarily don't get out of the house, or if that day is inclement weather, it might be more difficult to get out of the house. Also, people with small children that might be running all around, that you can request absentee ballots. If you're a student, you can request ballots be mailed to where your student residency is. So really, people should consider maybe taking an absentee ballot. Right. Military, people in the military. Right. Is there anything else about the election that you would like to highlight?
Well, on that point of absentee ballots, if they feel they're not going to be available or they're not going to be around on that particular day, they should have their voice heard and should vote. If you don't want to have it mailed to you, you can go and vote, like if you're a college student, go and vote before you leave for school. But most importantly, exercise your right to vote and have your voice heard. And pay close attention, because this is the first time in Massachusetts history that we've had an election on a Thursday.
On a Thursday. Right.
Each time I go door to door, each time I talk to people, I remind them, it's on a Thursday. It's 3 days after Labor Day. Please get out there and vote, because the community needs to hear your voice.
Hopefully it's not the same day school begins.
I hope not. I don't think it is.
Jeff, it's important for individuals to associate with a campaign as early as they could, or at least find out more about the candidate as early as they could. How could they do that with you?
Well, I have the easiest way to get information is to go to my website, which is www.jeffreyroy.com. It's JEFFREYROY.com. I have a way to contact me right on the website. You can go to a page, put in information there. My phone number is in the book. Although I had somebody who called me at my work the other day and said, "Oh, I didn't find your phone number in the book." I said, "I'm absolutely in the book. I'd be delighted to speak to anybody by telephone. I'd be delighted. I've had people come to my door at home in any way, whatever is more comfortable for people. My mailing address, my telephone, my office phone, my cell phone, all of those numbers and ways to get in touch with me are out there, because as I tell people, God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I'm going to use them in proportion on this campaign, and I'm going to really listen to hear what's on people's minds, and I can't do that unless they tell me what's on their minds."
Jeffrey, thank you for coming down, Roy.
Thank you.
And I hope to have you again before the primary.
I appreciate
as the season heats up, and as you say, hopefully there'll be much more direct conversation between you and your opponent.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for all of you out there, please remember Thursday, September 6th, to make a choice. Both Democratic and Republican have contested races for the state House of Representatives. Thank you for watching Frank Presents.